This video is going to be an overview for Lab 2.3.3.3 for the Cisco RNS course or the CCNA Academy through Cisco. And what we're going to do is we're just going to run through the packet tracer program here and just build a simple network. If you're doing this with your own equipment, you would do it with that, but I'm just going to run through and use the packet tracer. And what we're going to open up here is the PDF file that you would download. And if you were in the course, we would be looking at something like this, and you'd download your PDF. Well, I've already got it opened up here, and this is going to be our logical model here. This is just showing us what our image or what it would look like in the real world, and it's just showing us two switches and two computers here. And what we're going to do is just go into Packet Tracer and open this up, and it's also giving us some IP addressing and some subnet masking to use. So we're just going to open up our Windows 7 machine here, and I'm going to move. Yeah, there we go. I'll leave that right there. And I'm just going to move back and forth on this. And so we're going to set up two switches and two computers, and it will tell us down here what we need. We need to have two very basic switches, but it's going to say down here two Cisco 2960s with at least iOS 15.0 and two PCs with Windows 7 or Windows 8, terminal emulation program, and we're going to use that in Packet Tracer, and then console cables, and then Ethernet cables as well. So we're going to put our two switches up there first, our two 2960s. So let's just get our two 2960s up here. And those will start running as soon as we put those on the desktop. And then we're going to go to our end devices here, and we're going to put a couple of computers on here. And then we're going to console in, because if we come back to our PDF file here, we have our two switches and our two PCs. If we look at our image here, we see that we're going to go in here, but we have to either console in or go in and set the configuration on these switches. So what we're going to do is just follow the steps here. So in part one, we're going to set up the network topology. So we cable the devices together according to the network topology, and we're going to connect these with Ethernet. So on our topology here, these are just showing Ethernet. So we're just going to come here and we're going to grab our Ethernet connectors, and we're going to connect the first one, and we're going to go into our fast Ethernet 0. And how do I know that? Well, I know that, and I'm going to press escape here. I know that because it's telling me that we're going to connect in here, and that's the only connection that I've got is my fast Ethernet. And on the switch side on this, well, let's do PCA first. So we're going to go to Ethernet here, and then we're going to go to fast Ethernet 06, and see that F is telling me fast Ethernet and 0/6. So we're going to come over here, and I'm going to grab an Ethernet cable, and I'm going to plug it into the fast Ethernet here, and then here I'm going to do fast Ethernet 0/6. So I've got that connected. And over here I'm going to go into fast Ethernet 018. So I'm going to grab another cable, I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to come up here to this switch and go to 18 and plug that in, and those will eventually start running. If you don't know, you can fast forward time. That's the great thing about Packet Tracer. Now we know we've got green light switches, so the computers are now talking with the switches. And then we need to go in between the two switches here. So I'm going to go fast Ethernet 01 and fast Ethernet 01. So I'm going to grab another Ethernet, and I'm going to plug into fast Ethernet 01 here on this side, and fast Ethernet 01 over on this side. And again, they're amber, so they're talking. But if we fast forward time, it'll get them lit up. They'll start running. And in step 2, we're going to connect the two switches. We just did that. Connect one end to fast F01 on S1, and the other end to F01 S2. Now we haven't renamed our switches yet. I haven't went in and done that yet, but you should know how to do that at this point. To go in and configure your basic settings and set that. Now I could come in here and go into the config, and I could change it on here, but that's kind of the cheating a little bit. But just for purposes of this, we can go ahead and change it to S2 on there, the host name, and we can do this display as S2 as well. And that's our S play, and see it's displaying the type of switch on there. We could change that. You can go in and change that on your settings in Packet Tracer, but I'm just going to leave it on there because it's letting me know what type of switch I've got. Now what we're going to do is we've connected the 2 switches. Now we're going to connect the PCs and the respective switches. I'm going to connect one end to the second Ethernet cable, PCA connect the other end to the FC. We've done all that as well. We want to visually inspect the network connections. After cabling, you want to make sure that everything's connected. In the real world, or with actual physical equipment, you want to go in and you want to look at the back of the machine. And let me just look at the back side here. We're going to look down here at the bottom. And so if we go zoom in here and scroll down, we should see this is the fast Ethernet here. And you would see that your link light is running on there. In a regular computer, and you would see your link lights running, and you want to make sure that they're amber, or that they're green, not amber, on there. And that's letting you know that you're getting activity back and forth on there. So next, what you're going to do is you're going to configure your PC host. We're going to do this a little bit different in Packet Tracer than what it shows here, but this shows you looks like a Windows 7 machine here. Yeah, Windows 7 machine. And you're going to come in here and you're going to change your network status, and you're going to change your adapter settings, and it's going to be a little bit different for Windows from Linux to Mac. It's going to be all a little bit different, but this is showing the Windows. And what we're going to do is we're going to set our IP addressing, and this is setting it. You can set it either through command line or through the GUI. And what the reason I'm scrolling on down is because we're going to get to the console and to the switch here in a minute, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to set our information. But I'm going to scroll back up so that we have our table here. So PCA is going to be 192.168.1.10 and a subnet mask of 255.255.255. Okay, so we're just going to do PCA here, and I'm going to go ahead and name this. So I'm going to call it PCA. That way I don't lose track of it. So that's PC-A. Because what I like to do is show these as the same name as on here, so when I'm looking at them physically, they look the same from a visual standpoint. Physically looking at them, they look right. So PCB. Okay, so I'm going to come here to this computer, and I'm going to come into the desktop, and we're going to come in here and we're going to change the setting. Now this makes it easy because we can just click on IP configuration in Packet Tracer. And again, this is set up to make it easy in Packet Tracer. But if you were going to do a Windows machine, it would look a little bit different than a Mac machine or a Linux machine, and you would just need to find out respectively. Now, if you were doing DHCP, you would just tell it to get it automatically. But we're going to set a static IP address, and that one. And what I like to do is just copy and paste, especially when I'm working with Packet Tracer. I just paste that in there. Saves a whole lot of time. And that's going to be there. And is it giving me my default gateway? Do we doing a default gateway? And that's a good question to ask. And on this one, no, because we are in a contained local area network here. We are not going out anywhere, so there's no gateway. We're not going out to the internet, so we don't need a gateway. So we can just leave that blank. In DNS server at this point, we're leaving blank because we don't have any DNS service. We're setting up a simple network, and we're not configuring any IPv6 configuration yet. So we can just leave that blank. We can close that. And our other side is going to be 192.168.1.11. So we're going to come in here. We're going to go to desktop, go to IP configuration, set our IP address. It's 255, no default gateway. We've got that set. Now we've got our IP address set here. We've got our IP address set here. And what it's wanting us to do next is configure the switches. And we're just going to configure and verify basic switch settings. So we're going to use TerraTerm, or we're going to console in. Now, if we're doing this on Packet Tracer, I'm going to show you the easy way to do it. But then I'm also going to show you if you're doing it with the console cable, this was simulate the real world. And it's going to walk us through the steps on here how we're going to do this in a second. But if we're going to console in, I would grab a console cable, and I would go into PCA, and I would go into the 232, and up here I would click into the console. And I would come in here to the PC, and I would come in here to terminal, leave all these settings default, click OK, and now I can see my switch. And I can come in here and I can press enter. I can go in and I can go into mode. There's no login or anything like that. Now, that's the proper way. That's simulating the real world, where we would take a console cable and connect into a switch. For the fast way, I can just delete the console cable there, and I can just come into the switch here, and I can click on config or CLI, which is the command line interface, and I can see that exact same information. And so I don't actually have to use a console cable. So that's, I don't call it cheating because it's set up to be able to do that. Now, you may not be able to do that on some of the labs, so you want to get used to putting an actual console cable in, because when you do the final exam, you actually have to connect a console cable to be able to see the command line. So you want to get familiar with doing that console and doing that. And you want to do this step here to do it, just so you're familiar, because this is emulating the real world. And you click on console, you come in here and you click on terminal, you click OK, and now we've got our terminal. Now it looks exactly the same as clicking up here and doing this. Exactly the same information. And you may say to yourself, I'm just going to do it the quick way. Well, you need to emulate the real world, because that's what's going to happen in the real world. And on some of the exam and quizzes, you need to make sure that you use your console cable, because it will say you have to use your console cable. And these switches on this packet tracer have not been up to software version 15. They're on 12, and we haven't got that far yet to update all of these switches and update the packet tracer, but that happens later on. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go in and we're going to enter configuration mode, or we enable first. We're going to we start all switches. We start with privilege mode, and then we're going to go into user exec mode. So we did EN or enable to go into user exec mode, and we notice we went from a greater than sign to a pound sign, and that lets me know that I'm now in user exec mode. And then we're going to configure the terminal. So we just do config terminal. And remember, you can abbreviate. And I apologize if these are a little bit small on here, but let me see if I can get that larger. Okay, I can get the network here larger, but I can't get the actual typing here any larger. But you'll be able to see it on your end, and you can see it on the PDF. It walks you through on this one. So we're going to go into configure terminal, and then we're going to give the switch a name, and this one's going to be at host name S1, or it's going to be S1. So we're going to type in host name S1. And this is the other shortcut. If I just type shortcut, say I type HO, and I'd use my tab key, and it finishes it out for me. So there's my host name of S1. Now the cheat way was to go in and set it here. Remember, I come in here on config and I set it here already. That's the cheat way to do it. But the proper way to do it is through the terminal. And in the real world, you're not going to be able to just click on a switch and be able to change it. Although that would be nice if we had something like that, but that's not how it works. That's not how any of that works. Okay, so next we're going to do the no IP domain lookup. The reason you run that is because that keeps it, if you put in a wrong command, it keeps it from just hanging up. So if we put in the no, it's not gonna, I'm not gonna be able to copy that one. So we're just gonna do no IP domain, and there we go, domain name lookup. Is that right? I mean, that's, oh, I'm not in config, that's why. Oh yeah, I am. I'm in config. There we go. No IP domain lookup. And that keeps it from hanging up if we put in the wrong command. See, if I just put in the wrong command, it doesn't hang it up on me. And then we're going to enter our local passwords. You're going to do enable secret class, linecon0, password Cisco, log in, and that's going to set your passwords. That's going to do the simple passwords that we're putting on there. We're going to enable secret class. Let's just do that real quick. So we enable secret. And if I do my question mark, that lets me know what my, oh, there we go, enable secret class. Oh, wait. Enable secret. There we go. That's my secret. I didn't have the full command on there. And then line. And then we're going to set our console line. So we're going to change it over to line console. So we're going to do line console 0. And that's going to say if somebody connects with a console cable, what password are they going to need? And we're going to put password of Cisco on there. And this is why you want to be in an area where somebody can't shoulder surf you, because you are typing these in plain text with Cisco so that you can see what they are. And then we're going to do our login. And we're going to change, and then we're going to make it, we're going to force login, and then we're going to type exit to back out of there. And then we're going to be at the config #. And now we're going to do our message of the day. A message of the day banner. The reason you want to set a banner is because different laws, depending on where you are and what part of the world you are, if you don't put a banner on your switch, you could come under legal, some type of legal, if somebody hacked your switch or hacked your router and they said, well, they didn't tell me I couldn't do it. Well, you want to make sure that you're clear that if somebody's going to log into your switch or your router, or your equipment, that there's a message there that says you're not supposed to be here. So you want to put some type of message, and this one's saying unauthorized access is strictly prohibited and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. In other words, don't do it. It's like those FBI warnings on movies. So you want to come in here, and we're going to set our message of the day, and we're going to do that by going in banner message of the day. And there's some things that you have to keep in mind. If you can't, if you start it with the # and end it with a #, you can't use a # in your message, because that lets you know that you have to enter the text and end with the character #. So we're going to do banner MOTD #. I don't think it's going to let me paste it. There we go. And I'm going to finish with that. There we go. We put it in, and now it's going to say that in between the #, it's going to tell me whatever that is. It's going to give me as the message of the day. And then we're going to exit out of there. We've exited out of the config. And we're going to display our running configuration. So we're going to do show running config. So we're going to do show run config. Say show run, or just show RUN, or show RU. I think show RU will do it. Yeah, show RU will do it. So that's just telling me that I've enabled encryption, that there's no IP domain lookup is set. There's my interfaces. There's my banner of the day. My console command, I haven't told it to encrypt it yet, so it's still showing plain text. And then we can display our iOS version. We can just show show version. There's our show version. If I press my enter key, it's going to be a line at a time. If I press my space bar, it's going to go up faster. And that's showing me my version there. It's going to show me my system file in there. So you can go in there and find your system file, find all that good information that you're going to use later on in following labs. You know, this one's showing SW version 15, and it's going to show you later in the labs how to flash with the new version of the iOS. And then you can display the status of your connected interfaces. So you're going to show IP interface brief. So we're going to do show IP interface brief. And you notice the ones that I connected there, that one's up. Number 6 is up. Number 1's up, because those are the ones I've connected. And then VLAN 1 is administratively down. You'll learn more about that in later on labs. And then now you're going to come in here and you're going to record the interface status for the following interfaces. And you're going to just put what your status is, what protocol is showing, your VLAN. You're going to show everything that's on there. And what could prevent you from pinging between PCs. And then you're going to go through and you're going to initial the other switch, S2. You're going to repeat steps 1 through 12 on switch 2. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to show you on here. I'm just going to go do that. And then I'm going to come back on the video. And then you're going to come through and you're going to connect the switch. And you're going to determine if you have any VLANs. You're going to show V. We're going to do that in a second. We'll connect to the switch 1. And do that here in just a second. And I'm going to go ahead and show you here. I'm working on the switch 2, getting everything done. And what I think I forgot a step on step 8. It said save the configuration. So what you want to do is anytime you make changes to your configuration, you want to make sure you save those configurations or save those or copy those or /save those, because if you reboot your device, you're going to lose those if you don't save them. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy run, and that's our running config, and we're going to change that to our startup config. So we're going to copy our running config is the one we've just modified. You want to make sure, perfectly sure, that when you've changed passwords that you know what those passwords were, because if you do this and you restart your device, you won't be able to get in and change that password if you don't know what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's going to build it, and then we're done. And then I'm doing the cheat way here, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy run config, or copy start config, or copy run, yeah, excuse me, copy run over to startup. So we're going to do both of that. And then you can then display, same way over for your switch 2, so you can show version, show your version, just like that. Okay, and then what we're going to do is come in and I'm going to put this back on the screen here. We're going to connect to the switch. We're going to enable. We're going to show our flash. We're going to delete the VLAN file, and we're going to erase the startup config file. And it's going to show you how to do that. You're going to do that on your own, but you can just erase your startup config file, and then you're going to reload, and that's going to reset the switch. If you're going to do that, and that's how you would change that. So now what I'm going to show you here is we should be able to ping back and forth between our computers and using our IP address. So PCA, I'm going to come in here to PCB, and we're going to come in here to our command prompt, and we should be able to ping 192.168.1.10. If everything worked right, we should get a reply back. See, so we're pinging through our switch now, and then we should be able to come over to PCB and ping 192.168.1.11 and ping back and forth. And there we go. So you are pinging back and forth. Now, in answer to the question, what might keep you from pinging back and forth? I think that was the question that was asked down here on the lab. What might keep you from pinging? Let me move this over here. What might keep you from pinging? And I'll help you out with that question. If I can get down here to it, there we go. What might prevent you from pinging? A ping being sent? The cables might not be connected. You might have a firewall on the PC, so if it doesn't go through, you might need to check your firewalls to make sure that the ping command can go through or the ping protocol can go through. So, you might not have a cable connected. You might have the wrong IP addresses. You might not have used the right subnet mask. So there are a number of different things that could keep that from happening. And then, again, this is the Appendix A down here, initializing and reloading a switch. So that's how you would go and initialize one. You can delete the VLAN, erase your startup config file, and that would and then reload, and that's going to set it back to its initial configuration for a switch. Okay, so this was the lab for 2.3.3.3 for the Cisco Networking Academy. And if you have any questions, you can leave a comment down on the video or for this video. And if you want to see more videos as they come out, just subscribe to the channel and spread the word.